The BE100 is my favorite amp of all time. It can do virtually any genre of music, and it does them all really well. I released version 3.0 without even a thought of doing more. However, I was messing around one day and I took apart my entire signal chain and put it together with some different mics and started using different cabinets. So naturally, I went to my benchmark amp, the BE100, to start testing, and the result was immediately the best profiles that I had made to date. I tried about 20 different cabs for this particular package and wound up with the 4 that I used plus DI. I'm going to get to those in a minute, but I also want to mention one little tweak to the amp that is different as well. The BE channel, it's V1 in the tube set, and it shares, the BE and Clean share V1 tube. I switched that out with the Jan Joint Army Navy 5751 tube, and it really kind of opens up that BE tone. There's still plenty of gain in there, believe me, and it allows the HBE to have that extra harmonic and that extra push, and that comes courtesy, V2 has a Mullard 12AX7 in it, so hopefully that helps the tube geeks understand what you're hearing, because the previous packs, there wasn't as much of a distinction in the HBE and the BE channels as I would hoped to have had, and this pack completely changes that. The first cab is labeled 412 cab. It's a Bogner 412 with a V30 and a T75. Both are mic'd. This is my first pack that also includes a 410 cabinet. It's a Bogner 410, and it has blue label 10s in it, Celestians. And I know it's not going to be the go-to for anybody. However, give it a shot in a mix, or even if you are in a spot with multiple guitar players using 212, 412, and you want to cut through. I'm telling you, it's worth it. Even in the back of a mix a little bit, just to add that focus to your tone. It works out really well. And again, I know it's nobody's main tone, but don't throw it away before you try it in a mix. The pack has the most monstrous oversized 212 that I could find. It's also a Bogner. It has a V30 and a greenback in it. Both are mic'd, and I'm telling you, this has some power. I think this might be probably the most dynamic of the pack is that 212. For an added layer of insanity, I took 4 412s, and they're all mic'd. It's a Bogner, an EVH 5150, 3 series, if I'm not mistaken, a Marshall 1981, and Mesa. And the phasing issues were not fun, but the result is a really strong, powerful tone, and it's pretty clear, surprisingly so. And I think it's another additional thing that I've not done before that really makes this pack stand out. This pack, as all my packs do, include a full DI of every tone that goes through the studio, cabs, and everything else. There's DI, so you can merge with your favorite impulse responses, or right into your favorite 212, 412, or 410 if you're one of those guys. My BE100 has a toggle for the gain structure. So for this particular pack, that's how everything's labeled. For example, LG means low gain, MG means mid gain, HG means hermaphrodite giraffe. Then they go by cool, warm, and hot for the gain. So gain cool would be, around 2, 2.5, and warm would be around 5, maybe a little bit above, and then hot would be anywhere as high as I can make it take a good profile. Plus TS in the profile means that I'm adding this. This is a KHDK Ghoul Screamer, and if it's not a real high gain anything, it's a standard screamer, but the toggles give you a lot of opportunity to sculpt, and I dialed it in specifically with the BE100 over like 2 years, and these aren't the settings, by the way. I kind of nuked them back out, but you'll hear it, and it's worth it. I know there's a screamer right on the Kemper, but I'm telling you, the profiles with this baked in are fabulous. I use both humbuckers and single coils when I profile. Now, everybody dials an amp different depending on the pickups that you're using, so to speak. And while I usually try to just find a good middle ground for both, for this particular pack, there is a fat pack. So every tone is available with the fat switch engaged, which really helps you, get that oomph out of your single coils and all the splendor. And fun for this pack is that, for me personally, if I'm playing my Strat, for example, that's one of my thinnest, so to speak, in tone. I mean, and that's saying, I'm saying thin in a term of, if you're playing in a rock band and you want to really kick it up, sometimes the Strat is the one that leaves me the most wanting or whatever. So, in high gain terms. So for this particular pack, I really, really spent a lot of time trying to get the single coil, the fat tones to be really responsive at high gain. And I think I hope the result is something that you might even forget that you're playing a single coil guitar for a little bit, because it's really chewy, really fat, really rich. And, I'm just saying against a humbucker. So I'm not talking about, if you're a Strat guy all the time, then you know how to do all this kind of stuff. But if you're somebody who is a typical humbucker guy, which I have a sense that some of the Kemper community may be that way, and you have some single coil guitars, but you're always going back to the humbucker because the single coil just didn't push or didn't have what you really, needed in the high gain. Try these profiles with your Strat, your Tele, whatever you might have, and I think you'll be surprised. Okay, lastly for this pack, there is a little special something on all the profiles that I don't want to reveal as yet. However, it's not a gain punch, but I call it a punch. It's something that really, even to the clean tones, there's an extra oomph to all of these profiles. And it's not overbearing. It isn't anything that sounds unnatural. It's like the punchiest Friedman I've ever heard, and I think it profiled as such. And lastly, there are 8 performances in this pack. So the performances range anywhere from classic rock, fusion, just standard rock. And then there's also DI performances. So you can play right into your 412, 212, whatever you might be playing. And you have effects enabled, everything ready to go right there.